When I was 22 years old, I started renting out the downstairs apartment in my parents' house. At the time, it seemed like the perfect arrangement. I could save money while still having a little more privacy than I had in my old bedroom upstairs. My parents traveled a fair amount, and when they were away, I thought of it as my own space, my own quiet little sanctuary. But even with that extra privacy, I never truly felt alone. It was like the walls themselves carried whispers. Maybe that sounds dramatic, but I'll explain. The downstairs apartment was separated from the main floor by a single lockable door in the stairway. The layout was open, the small kitchen bled right into the living room area. From there, a hallway stretched out into my bedroom, a bathroom, the laundry room, and a side entrance connected to the living room. It wasn't much, but it was mine. On weekends when my parents were away, I could finally breathe. I could invite friends over, play music loud, laugh, and just exist without worrying that someone upstairs might complain. One particular weekend, the one that still keeps me up at night, started off like any other. My two friends, Anthony and Jay, came over. We grabbed a few drinks, threw on the hockey game, and blasted music. The air felt electric, carefree. The bass from the speakers rattled against the walls, while the glow of the television painted the room in flashing colors. We weren't sloppy drunk, but I had a solid buzz going by the time the game ended. The couch in the living room was massive, big enough to sleep 3 people comfortably. So when it got late, Anthony and Jay decided to crash there for the night. I didn't mind, honestly. I liked the company. After saying goodnight, I headed to my bedroom, shut the door, and, out of habit, locked it before crawling into bed. Somewhere in the early morning hours, I woke up. The kind of sudden awakening that feels wrong from the start. My room was wrapped in darkness, and the air was heavy, unmoving. Then, I heard it. Footsteps. From upstairs. Slow, deliberate footsteps, creaking against the hardwood floor directly above me. My first thought was that it had to be Anthony or Jay. Maybe one of them got thirsty and went upstairs to grab a bottle of water from my parents' fridge. It was such a normal explanation that I almost convinced myself of it immediately. Almost. I shifted, trying to drift back to sleep, when the sound came again. Not footsteps this time. The sound of my doorknob. Someone was trying to open my bedroom door. It rattled gently, as though whoever was outside had expected it to open. When it didn't, the knob stopped moving. My heart thudded in my chest. But then I reminded myself, Anthony. It had to be him. Or Jay. Maybe he forgot I always locked my door. I told myself that over and over again, and eventually, exhaustion pulled me back under. The next morning, the apartment was quiet. Anthony was already gone, but Jay was still groggy on the couch when I came out. I casually asked him if he'd tried to come into my room during the night. He rubbed his eyes, confused, and said he didn't remember doing that. Maybe he had. Maybe he hadn't. He was drunk, after all. I didn't push it. I shrugged it off, chalked it up to nothing. That Saturday, I spent most of the day out with other friends. By the time I got back, it was late and I was drained. Not drunk, just tired. I grabbed a quick snack, showered, and crawled into bed with the television on for background noise. When I finally switched it off, the silence felt sharp, unnatural. And then, creaks, thumps, from upstairs. Exactly like the night before. Only this time, it felt different. I sat up in bed, holding my breath, listening carefully. The sound was slow, uneven, like someone pacing in the kitchen right above me. I tried telling myself it was the house settling. Old wood, pipes, anything logical, but deep down, I knew better. My gut twisted in warning. I should have trusted it. Because just like the night before, my doorknob began to turn. This time, it wasn't just a twist. It was followed by a soft, deliberate knock. 3 faint taps. Knock, knock, knock. I shot up in bed, adrenaline surging through me like fire. My room was pitch black, but I could see the silver of the doorknob twitching as whoever was out there tested it. I didn't say a word, didn't move, didn't breathe. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand, hands trembling, and quickly texted my parents, Anthony and Jay. I knew it wasn't them. I knew it in my bones. But I was desperate for one of them to text back and tell me I was wrong. No one answered. My parents were asleep somewhere hours away. Anthony was gone. Jay was still drunk when I last saw him. The knocking stopped, but the silence was worse. I climbed quietly out of bed and crouched behind my dresser, clutching a heavy object I kept nearby just in case. My ears strained for any sound of movement, waiting for the moment the door might crash open. 10 minutes passed. Nothing. The silence was so complete that I could hear my own pulse pounding in my ears. Finally, I whispered into the phone, calling 911. My voice shook so badly the operator had to ask me to repeat myself twice. I explained everything, begging them to send officers. I stayed hidden until I heard a knock at my bedroom window. A beam of light swept across the glass, and I almost sobbed in relief when I saw a uniformed officer peering in. I slid the window open and handed him my spare key. Moments later, I heard the side door open, followed by the heavy boots of police moving through my apartment. Only then did I leave my hiding spot. 2 officers swept through the downstairs quickly. There weren't many places to hide down there. Then we crept upstairs together. The main floor was clear. But when they went into my parents' bedroom, I heard a sudden commotion. Raised voices. The sound of movement. One of the officers shouted, and I froze in the hallway, my heart in my throat. From where I stood, I couldn't see clearly. But then I caught a glimpse. A man crawling out from under my parents' bed. My knees nearly buckled. The officers dragged him into the open, yelling commands, forcing him to the ground. I stood there, numb, as they hauled him out of the room and down the stairs. When I finally saw him clearly, bile rose in my throat. He was filthy. Tall, gaunt, with stringy hair and a dirty sweatshirt that hung off his thin frame. His eyes locked on mine as they dragged him past me, and the hatred in his stare was something I'll never forget. It wasn't the look of a man caught breaking in. It was the look of someone who wanted to hurt me. He didn't say a word. He didn't need to. That stare said everything. The police escorted him out, and my entire body sagged with relief once he was gone. I asked who he was, but they didn't know. They said he looked homeless, probably squatting, maybe mentally unstable. When I asked how long he'd been there, no one answered. And that's the part that chills me more than anything else. Had he walked in that first night when the music was blasting and no one noticed? Or had he been there even longer? Days? Weeks? Hiding in the shadows. Listening. Watching. Waiting. The police told me if my parents wanted to pursue charges, we'd need to call the precinct. But my parents didn't. Nothing was stolen, they said. He was just some homeless man. Just some homeless man. But to me, he wasn't just anything. Because the thought that still keeps me up at night, long after that night has passed, is simple. Every time I replay it in my mind, I come back to the same horrifying possibility. He might have been living in our house the entire time, and none of us ever knew. What would you have done if you heard footsteps and someone twisting your bedroom doorknob in the middle of the night? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If this story sent chills down your spine, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more terrifying stories, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a scare.